Okay. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Badger Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. All right, y'all. Appreciate everybody for being here with us on this beautiful Monday. Great weekend in South Louisiana here, with the exception of the Saints, who stink. We'll talk about that. But just beautiful weather weekend. Lots of good vibes everywhere. Fall is here. Woke up this morning, temps in the 40s. So lots of good stuff all over the place. Now, same cannot be said, however, for your New Orleans Saints. Saints fall 20-13 to Houston. The red zone woes are what did the Saints in this time. The odd thing is every week it feels like it's something different. Your offensive line is atrocious. Your quarterback is a mediocre player, man. Missed open receivers, threw for 353, and you can look at that and say, oh, look, he threw for 353 yards at 50 attempts. You threw the ball 50 times, you ran it 25. The complete inverse of what you did last week when you won 34-0 in New England. On the flip side, Houston was perfectly balanced. 27 passes, 31 rushes. They threw for 177, they ran for 120. The crazy thing is you outgained them. Saints put up 430 yards of offense. Saints outgained the Texans 430 to 297, and you still led. They ran for nearly 100 yards in the first half. Defense tightened up in the second half, but your inability to convert in the red zone. Blake Grupe missed a couple of kicks. The 29-yarder is inexcusable. A professional kicker cannot miss a 29-yard field goal, period. It's an extra point. You cannot miss that kick. And it bit you. So, but that was part of it. But your inability to convert in the red zone, 3 chances down there to come away with nothing is just, Saints were, think about that. Saints were 0 for 3 in the red zone. 0 for 3. You missed the short field goal. You had to go for it on 4th down where Kamara got stopped short. And at the end of the game, you had to go for it on 4th down again, and Carr threw the pick. So, just another atrocious day for the New Orleans Saints. Trevor Penning got benched for Hurst, who then got injured. So Penning had to play anyway, and he's not a good player. You invested so much, and I had somebody on Twitter after the game. I wanted to point this out because I did reply to it. And somebody said to me, here it is. He said, Matt, well, I think we have the personnel. What else could be the problem? Implying the coaches. And yes, you all know where I stand on this. Coaches, Dennis Allen's not a head coach. Great defense coordinator, not a head coach. Pete Carmichael, your coaching staff's in over its head. But I replied to that person, you don't have the personnel. Your offensive line is atrocious, and your quarterback is old and mediocre. Pair that with a coaching staff that's over their skis, and you get this product. I need to delete that, though. There's so much grammatically. I was voice texting. There's so much grammatically incorrect with that. I have to delete it. Anyway. I probably shouldn't. I should have just replied. Anyway. Anyway. Bummer. And by the way, for whatever it's worth, I even told you yesterday when I picked the Texans to win, I told you I was going to pick the Saints to beat Jacksonville on Thursday. I think they will. I think you'll have desperation from New Orleans. You'll be at home. Quick turnaround for the Jags, who then have to travel. Thursday night football, I always kind of favor the home teams on Thursday night football because when you have to short week as it is, and then you have to travel, it just compounds how difficult that week is for a road team. So I do think the Saints win on Thursday against Jacksonville, but then you have to go to Indy, which I don't think they'll win in Indy on the road, and it's just then you're home against the Bears. We'll see what's up with Justin Fields. Then you have to go to Minnesota, who got a win yesterday in Chicago. Then you're at Atlanta, who actually looks like the best team in the division right now, although the division's terrible. Lions, Panthers, Giants. I mean, you got some winnable games on there, but it's just at Rams, at Bucks, Falcons. I mean, it's this perpetual one step forward, two step back. That's what the Saints are. So, anyway. All right, we'll say some good mornings here. Trivia Carter, what's up? Nick Newbill, good morning. Wendell Norman, Big Chrisdom. Morning, Mac. Can we stop talking about the Saints for the rest of the season? Nope. Terry McCain, good morning. Has Blake cost us 2 games? He's cost you real opportunities in 2 games. If he makes the kick against Green Bay, you lead, but there's still a minute 10, minute 15 left there, whatever it was, and a field goal beats you. So, you would have had to come up with a defensive stop. It would not have been a walk-off in Green Bay, but it would have given you the lead. And then yesterday, yeah, I mean, if he makes his kick, it's hard to look. It's the NFL. I mean, you're expected to make kicks. The 52-yarder, I can understand, but look, he made both of his kicks last week from 50 plus. So, but if he makes his kicks, then you're in a situation at the end of the game where you're not throwing to the end zone. You're kicking a field goal to win it. You're milking the clock and kicking a field goal to win it. So, it's not good, man. It's funny too. Not funny, haha, but just on Friday when I was given my pick on AFR. So if you go to the AFR YouTube channel, AFR Saints YouTube channel, I even said I think it's 4-quarter game. I think it comes down to final possession type scenario, and I would love to see. I did pick Houston to win, but I said I would love to see Blake Grupe have an opportunity to make amends for Green Bay, to have the opportunity to attempt a pressure kick and come through, and sort of the opposite happened. So, JN3, good morning, Hunter Broadhead. Matt, good morning. That was one of the harder Saints games I've ever watched. Then you have not watched the Saints very long, my friend. Oh, man. The problem is, Hunter, it reminds me so much of watching this team before the Peyton Breeze era. But not only that, I mean, a year ago you were 7-10, and remember, if you were here with us last week, we kind of talked about, because a lot of people were riding high after the shutout. Well, last year you pitched a shutout as well. You shut out Derek Carr and the Raiders in the Dome. And do you remember what the Saints did the week after they shut out Derek Carr and the Raiders in the Dome? They played Baltimore in the Dome and lost 27-13 in one of the most hideous games you would ever see played by New Orleans. I mean, the Saints were thoroughly dominated. They ran for 49 yards in the game. It was 243 yards total offense. It was terrible. Time of possession was 30. In that game last year against Baltimore, here's time of possession, was 37-47 to 22-13. Basically 38-22 was your time of possession, again, that game against Baltimore. So you followed up a shutout win with a horrible performance. Sound familiar? One step forward, 2 steps back. Wendell Norman, Saints red zone offense is non-existent. Yeah, I mean, I know everyone's going to talk about the screen pass to Alvin on the 4th down play. That wasn't the only thing that was a problem, but that was terrible. You have to throw the ball to the sticks. You can't throw the ball behind the line. I love Alvin Kamara, but it's the NFL. I mean, the sideline to sideline speed, the pursuit speed is a different level. You've got to throw the ball to the sticks. I mean, that's the type of scenario where Michael Thomas feasted. It was like everyone knew that you were throwing a quick slant to Michael Thomas at the sticks, and nobody could stop it. He was so good at body control, strong hands, catching the ball, creating separation with his strength and body, his body. And you don't even look at it. Why are you paying this guy $100 million? Jacob Yetu, good morning. Saints really crapped the bed this week. Joseph Feltwell, good morning. Our team seems to be on the verge of a locker room split. Joseph, I think they have good leadership. I listen to Cam Jordan after the game and Derek Carr, and they say all the right things, man. Those are veteran players that want to win. They want to win. And the hard part for those guys is they know they're nearer the end of their career than the beginning. And so, their clock is ticking. I mean, they know they have to win. And so, I almost look at it. I was thinking about this yesterday after that game. Do you trade Cam Jordan? Trade him to a team that's a contender and try to get assets for him. I don't think the Saints will, because they look at them. Say, this is the dangerous part. The Saints look at themselves and they go, "We're 3-3. Look at the division." Tampa lost yesterday at home. They're 3-2. Atlanta's 3-3. Saints are 3-3. Panthers are 0-6. You go, "Oh, look, man, you're half game out of first. Half game out of first. Let's get together. We're close. Close against Green Bay. Right there. We're right there against Houston. Should have won." And those things are true, but what are you trying to do? Are you just trying to win a bad division, make the playoffs, and get bounced? Or are you trying to move toward winning a championship? And this goes back to the conversation we were having when they signed Derek Carr. And it's the point I made then, and I'll continue to make, which is Derek Carr has a lower ceiling but a higher floor. Look at where Carolina is right now. They're winless. They're 0-6. You're taking your lumps with a rookie quarterback. But let me ask you, who do you think has more success over the next 5 years? Carolina with Bryce Young, as they continue to grow and mold and develop him and surround him with weapons, or the Saints with Derek Carr? And the answer should be easy if you take off your black and gold glasses. And that's the point that I made all offseason, is I would have rathered the Saints take the approach that Carolina did, understanding that your floor is going to be lower, but your long-term ceiling is much higher. You're seeing how low the floor could be. They're 0-6. But would you take a season like this in order to groom the guy you feel is going to be your franchise for the next decade and win you championships? Of course you would. Everybody would. But the Saints refuse to acknowledge what they are, and that's the dangerous thing. Kelly Groves, Bubba Smith, Charlie Cavell, good morning, y'all. Kevin Williams, Ali Samanduri, good morning from Hawaii. Okay. Alton Trahan, good morning. Charlie, will the Saints address the obvious deficiencies on the offensive line? Here's the problem, Charlie. I'm with you, man, but what do you do? We've talked about the draft capital, right? Penning's a first-round pick. Ruiz is a first-round pick. Pete's a first-round pick. Ramchik's a first-round pick. McCoy's a second-round pick. You went and drafted Nick Saldiveri this year, who they're really high on. Fourth-round guy, but an interior player they think can be a guy in the future. What do you do? They've tried to make that. They made that change this week. They started Max Garcia at guard and kicked Hurst out to tackle, and Hurst gets hurt, so Penning had to go in. Your players aren't good. And it's not like you have this top-tier free agent talent just sitting at home. So you either trade for an offensive lineman now, but what do you give up? or you go back into the draft again and try to draft another lineman. I think the reality that we all have to face is that Trevor Penning is not going to be your starting left tackle, and most likely Andrus Pete's gone after this year, and you try to make Penning your starting left guard, and you go draft another left tackle. I think that's your possibility. But you just drafted Nick Saldiveri, and you paid Cesar Ruiz. So what do you do with Saldiveri? I mean, Dale Broussard, Kevin Williams, 6 quarters of decent LSU defense. Is it safe to say the second half of Missouri was a light switch, or Auburn bad offense? Kevin, I think like so many things in life, the answer lies somewhere in between. But I'll tell you what I do like about the LSU defense is the 4-man defensive front. It's just clear that frees up your defensive tackles to be more active, and they found our home for Harold Perkins. So I think those things are legitimate improvements for the defense. I don't even think that's debatable. Just look at the activity of the guys on the interior, how much more active they are in pressures, batting passes, TFL, sacks. Like, it's all there, Lowell Cormier, morning, Matt. Should the Saints use the draft next season for a quarterback? I think Dan Campbell would return. No, Lowell. Dan Campbell's not going to return. And there are 32 NFL head coaching jobs. You don't leave an NFL head coaching job for another NFL head coaching job. The only time you ever see that is when there's a disconnect between coach and ownership, like when John Gruden and Al Davis had their falling out in Oakland, and so he traded Gruden to Tampa Bay. That's about the only time you ever see something like that. But no, if you have an NFL head coaching job, you don't leave one NFL head coaching job for another. It's not like college. And should the Saints draft a quarterback? Yes. Thought they should have drafted a quarterback last year. Charlie Cavell on 4th down. Why so many throws behind the line of scrimmage? Yeah, I talked about that. I agree. Brent Roban, morning, Scone. 2 things. I bet Arkansas beats Bama if our Rocket Sanders was on the field. Who breaks first, Bama's weak offense or LSU's weak defense? I think our offense can outlast them. And you know what, man? You know what, Brent? Let's talk about that in 3 weeks. We don't need to talk about that now. 2 weeks. Mark Vitanovich, was Frank Gore Sr. in Baton Rouge Saturday night in Death Valley lobbying for his son Frank Gore Jr. to transfer from Southern Miss? I have no idea. John Hendricks, good morning. Loss sucks, but it sucks more when it's to a team like Houston. Houston's a good young team, man. So there's another example. Who would you rather be? The Saints with Derek Carr or the Texans with C.J. Stroud? Texans aren't winning anything of significance this year. But they've got their young quarterback with the super high ceiling. Who would you rather be? And I get it. To all those who poo-poo that, you can say, and you can say, yeah, but you could be the Jets with Sam Darnold, the Jets with Zach Wilson, although they're showing a pulse. The Bears with Mitchell Trubisky. And you could point out all of the first-round pick quarterbacks that have busted. And you're right. Absolutely. There are so many first-round quarterbacks that do not pan out. 100%. But you can't hit on one if you don't take one and take the risk of it not working out. So, what do you want to be? Do you want to be the organization that has the higher ceiling but the lower floor with the risk of a bust? Or do you want to be perpetually 500, which is what you're going to be with Derek Carr? The Saints told you. The Saints told you what they want to be. They want to be perpetually 500. And they can frame it as, oh, we're trying to win championships. No, you're not. Derek Carr is Andy Dalton. I told you this in the offseason. Their statistic, it's almost identical. 9 seasons with the team that drafted him, made him their franchise, got him to the playoffs, but never advanced. They built their franchise around that guy, and they said, you know what? We've gone as far as you can take us. And so the organization that knows them best passed, and look at what happened to Dalton. Which is 5 teams, 5 years, from Bengals, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, Panthers. the Bengals were right. They were right to get rid of Andy Dalton, and they drafted Joe Burrow. Did they make the right call? You darn right they did. All right, y'all, smash that like button if you would. Please subscribe over to the channel, Facebook. Please like the Matt Scone page, share the post. Appreciate y'all, as always. Ransom Antoine, morning, Matt. Watching the Kamara interview, he was upset in the locker room. Is this on the brink of collapse? I mean, again, I think they have good leadership in the locker room, but do I think from a win-loss perspective, are they going to collapse? Yes, I do. I mean, I think it's what it was a year ago. It's one step forward, two steps back. I mean, you're going to end up right there in that 7-8 win range again. Al Trahan, good morning. Strong side, good morning. Saints need to make some changes bad. 7 trips inside the Houston 40, you come away with nothing. Damon Gilmore, Dalton Pichon. Curious to see if Lacey uses this game to absolutely go off against Bama. You know they're going to try to double Thomas or Neighbors. I'm just glad the dude had to bounce back. He's got all the ability. I mean, you could not talk to any LSU coach this offseason without having them mention Malik Neighbors or Kyron Lacey. They were very high on him. And he had some dropsies early. He lost his opportunity. Chris Hilton got that opportunity. Then Hilton got injured against Ole Miss. And last couple of weeks now, we've seen Lacey get back in there, and he's trying to make the most of it. So good for him. Brad David, good morning. Tim Gautreaux. Dane Bergeron, what's up, Dane? Good morning. Clarifying my comment yesterday about whiskey and wine. I was working the election Saturday. The show did not show up on my computer till the end of it. I did go back and watch it. Oh, I'm okay, Dane. Because I think I remember you'd said like there was maybe it was there was no audio maybe. Got it. I don't know why, man. Maybe Dane. Sometimes if you I'm guessing you're watching on YouTube. If you go like turn off notifications and then turn them back on, sometimes that seems to work. People have mentioned that in the past. Maybe that'll help. Matt Plavidal, good morning. Last day of vacation. All right, Matt. Back to the workforce. Hope you had a good time, man. Jesse Brown, short week for the Saints. Does it get worse Thursday? No, Jesse, I think the Saints beat Jacksonville on Thursday. And by the way, I don't know if you saw, but Trevor Lawrence hurt his knee. I told you on Friday, go if you're interested. You don't have to, but just so you know that I have this on record. On Friday, I picked the Saints to lose to the Texans, but I said, look, I'm going to pick them to beat Jacksonville because I think they'll have a bounce back. They're at home. There'll be desperation. And I just always look at spots, and traveling on Thursday nights is really difficult. I mean, the short week in the NFL is tough. To have to travel on the short week is even tougher. So I like the Saints on Thursday night to win, but then I think they'll go to Indy and lose. So it's just that's the game that you play whenever it's the one step forward, two steps back. And you just keep playing that game. Hemisphere. I don't know how much the Saints brass has to see to know how badly the Saints are poorly coached. They need to get a head coach and clean out this coaching staff. Not just the coaching staff. They need to clean out the entire organization. I mean, and I'm including Mickey Loomis in that. Because Mickey is still in the mindset of win now. And he tried to essentially, this year with bringing in Carr, he tried to recreate what they did back in 2006 with Drew Brees, and clearly it's not working. So, I mean, they tried to recreate in 2020 what they did in 2006 with Drew Brees by bringing in Jameis and hoping that, you're getting a young player, physically gifted, his middle 20s, with an opportunity to start fresh and potentially be great. And it hasn't worked. So you have to bring in someone with fresh ideas. Matt Luke, so how long before Dennis Allen, P. Carmichael are in Denver? Throwing passes to Traquan Smith. Let's see, offensive line and Coach P. Carmichael need to be changed. We are staring at 3-7. Dane, hate that I missed meeting E-Rock. I got T-Bob Good on the show this morning. I told him I was bringing a group of Delta Force operations to the game Saturday. We're coming by Don Juan after. Said T-Bob at the end of Whiskey and Wine as we're getting ready for Army. Made a T-Bob-like comment, completely tongue-in-cheek, and everybody knew it. But it was a, let's call it the antithesis of thank you for your service. What everyone says to anyone in uniform, when everyone just sort of always says thank you for your service. T-Bob said the opposite of that. It was completely in jest, and it was all related to football and whatever, but it's pretty good. Chris P, what up? Is that Chris Perrette? I wonder if that's Chris Perrette. Let's see, 19CT. I actively look forward to seeing our vets in other places where they can win. You know, maybe I need to look at that today. Because look, I mean, the good thing for New Orleans is Denver stinks, and you have their second round pick this year, and that could be, I mean, that's going to be an early second round pick. So here you go. So you have your own first round pick this year, which looks like it might be a pretty good pick. You got Denver's number 2, so you're going to have, let's call it 2 top 40 picks, right? Denver's going to finish. I mean, Denver may end up with the worst. Well, maybe not the worst, but Denver probably one of the bottom 5 teams in the league. So you'll have 2 top 40 picks. You don't pick again till you have round 5, and then 2 picks in round 6. So, you of course could get compensatory picks, but man, I almost look at it and say, why not be sellers at the trade deadline? See if you can move Cam Jordan to a contender. Let him go try to win. You know, the real problem the Saints have with trying to move players is, I know we've talked about this a ton with Michael Thomas, when people are like, trade Michael Thomas. I'm like, he's got a $100 million contract. He's always hurt. Who's going to give you anything of value for him? I think you have to look at what contracts might teams be willing to take on. You know, I mean, I think that's really the question. So, but could you unload some of your veterans? And send them to contenders and acquire a lot of draft capital and try to rebuild in this draft. All right, please smash that like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel if you're new on Facebook, or on YouTube, Facebook, please like the Matt Scone page, share the post. Stewart, if DA had any passion about his job, he'd fire Pete today, bring in John Gruden. Yeah, I think that's tough. Not just Gruden's off the field stuff notwithstanding. I think it's hard to bring in someone from outside, middle of the season, that's going to change the offense, terminology, and all that sort of stuff. It seems like if you were going to make a change, the more likely scenario would be what Lance Moore suggested a few weeks back, which was promoting from within. Bailey C. The Saints offense is the best scary movie to watch in October. Tiger Diver, good morning, Scone. When they fire DA, who do we get? I don't know yet, man. I don't know that they're going to fire Dennis Allen. Saints organization is loyal almost to a fault. I mean, there were a lot of people that wanted to move on from Sean Payton after the back-to-back 7 and 9 seasons in 14, 15, 16. And they hit on a draft class, and they were right back contending again, 17, 18, 19, 20. Greg Carter, morning, Matt. Looking like a 7 and 10 season this year. Good thing is Saints clean house next year. We'll see. I hope so. Brian Wynn, good morning, Eric Wilderrider. As a lifelong Saints fan, I have no choice but to actively want us to lose out. I want to give this front office no choice but to clean house. Keep in mind, Eric, like I'm saying also, I want them to clean the front office as well. I think you have to realize it's It's almost like New England. Now, the Saints didn't win seven Super Bowls or 6 Super Bowls, but you had a 20-year run with this alignment among your coach, quarterback, front office. And the longer those remnants linger, that shadow is cast upon the whole organization. I think you have to be willing to start anew. By the way, real quick, if you check that pinned comment, it's a link to the HUDCO website, but it's the fortified roofing link. The state of Louisiana announced today the second window for fortified roofing grants is open today. You can get it. Louisiana homeowners can get as much as $10,000 in grant money to fortify your roof. So if you want to learn more, if you're a Louisiana homeowner, click that link. It'll take you to the fortified roofing section on the HUDCO website, and we'd love to help you out. HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. Jeff Hawk, good morning, my dude. Hope all is well. Taz, good morning. Pete is in love with the long ball. This is not Madden. You know, the funny thing is, Taz, whenever Drew Brees kept dinking and dunking, people criticized Drew Brees for not wanting to throw the long ball. But I get it. I'm not disagreeing with you. Micah 504, Saints should never have signed Carr. Easy to say now. Who was saying it when they did? I get Carr's not elite, but his OC's got to help him out. I don't know, man. One of those possessions, you got Chris Olave wide open on the left side, and Carr throws it out of bounds over his head. Like, you still got to make plays, man. Eric, here's the depressing stat. This season is the lowest pressure rate of Carr's career. Maybe we gave him too much credit, assuming he'd be even average. I didn't give him credit. Noah Lejeune, I'm done paying attention to the Saints. If they somehow make the playoffs, I'll watch. Otherwise, I can't invest any more emotion on them right now. That's the tough part, man, is you get to a point, and it's weird because they're 3-3. They're far from eliminated from anything. And my assumption here is this division is going to be bad enough that the Saints are going to be in the mix until the end. I mean, it's going to go down to week 17, 18, and they're going to be right there because I don't see anybody running away with it. Carolina's winless. I think Atlanta's playing the best of anyone in the division. Tampa lost yesterday. Baker looked like he hurt his hand or his arms. We'll see what that means for him. But anyway. Antron Hemingway, hey Dad, good morning. John Eric Chretien, good morning. Chretien, good morning from Lake Charles. Shane Big Fella, good morning. James Green, hey Matt, great job. What about Mickey Loomis? I think Loomis should go too. You can respect someone and what they've done for you and for your organization and the history there, but sometimes it's time to move on, man. Like, look, I'm a Yankee fan. I feel the same way about Brian Cashman. I mean, he was the architect of a lot of championship seasons, and it's inexcusable what's happened there the past few years. I know everybody's not all into the Yankees or Major League Baseball, but I'm just trying to give you something that's maybe less of an emotional tie for what we're talking about if you love the Saints. But my point is, like, there's times where you can really respect what someone does, but also acknowledge it's time to move on. And I think that's where the Saints are with this whole organization, with Mickey Loomis and everything on down. Kenneth Polk, good morning, Matt. Hard to watch the Saints waste the defense and these weapons we have. At least LSU's going in the right direction once we turn the defense around. Steven, a few times I've been able to watch the Saints. It looks like Carr's always pointing the finger at someone else. I don't think so. No, I think Carr's been he's been a good leader. I think he's fire and he wants to win, and I love that. I mean, I love the fact that that's what he wants. That's why he came here, was try to win. But I also look at a guy who's 10 years into his NFL career, and his best days are behind him, and his best days weren't elite to begin with. Will Davis, St. Taurus, good morning. Let's see, John Eric, if the Saints were to get rid of DA, who'd be the top candidate? Yeah, I don't listen. I mean, he mentioned Eric Bieniemy. I mean, that was the guy that I mentioned when they hired Dennis Allen. But again, like, I don't want to be hypocritical here. I was okay with hiring Dennis Allen. In the moment, I understood the decision they made for all the reasons we've talked about for a couple of years now. DA was a good defensive coach. You had a lot of pieces in place. You had an organization with good culture, good talent on the defensive side of the ball. You had brought in Jameis to sit behind Breeze. DA had been a head coach once before, but it was a terrible situation in Oakland with bad ownership, and he had Matt McGloin at quarterback, and I get saying, hey, look, your second go-round, you learn from the mistakes you made in your first, and you can be better. We've given those examples before. Bill Belichick, the Patriots were his second job. Pete Carroll, this is his second head coaching job. I mean, you can look around the NFL and see coaches that learned from their mistakes the first time and then succeeded the second time. So I understood hiring Dennis Allen, but I also understand that with every week as the sample size grows, you realize what the reality is with him. Like, he's a lieutenant, he's not a general, and that's okay. Go be a great defensive coordinator, which he is. He's just not a head coach. So anyway, to the point about Bieniemy, yes, I would have been great with Bieniemy. I mean, I think, listen, I mean, you can look at Sean McDermott in Buffalo, and that's a defensive-minded head coach. Robert Saleh with the Jets. DeMeco Ryans in Houston. But when I look at the best teams in the NFL, Shanahan in San Francisco, offensive-minded coach. Andy Reid in KC, offensive-minded coach. Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, offensive-minded coach. Sorry. Mike McDaniel in Miami, what that offense is doing right now. Offensive-minded coach who was under Shanahan, right? So, I mean, yeah, I think you're living through an age in the NFL where, you probably, where it's not to say defensive-minded coaches can't succeed. I mean, McDermott's a great example of that. I think DeMeco Ryans is going to do really well. Nick Sirianni in Philly, offensive-minded coach. I mean, look, the best teams in the league they have off. It's just, the league evolves, and we're going through that right now, where it's an evolution that Sean McVay with the Rams has won a Super Bowl, right? I mean, so a long way of answering your question. I would have been very much in favor of Bieniemy, giving Bieniemy a shot a year ago, or whenever they hired DA. But I'm not saying he's the best option, but he's someone that I would have been, very much in favor of. Bryant, Dennis Allen's record is like 18-42. Matt, would you have been fired by now if your performance was equivalent to that stat in radio? But again, I'll say, like, I'm willing to pull back from his record in total and even eliminate what he was in Oakland because he inherited a terrible situation. It's like if you inherit a terrible situation, or like, look, this is a good example. Look at Zach Taylor. So Zach Taylor gets the Cincy job in 19. So his first year in Cincy, they go 2-14, and then they draft Burrow. And Burrow's first year, they go 4-11. So through 2 years, he's 6-25. That's terrible, right? Overall, he's 31-39-1. So he's 8 games. Zach Taylor's 8 games under 500, but 10-7 went to the Super Bowl. 12-4 went to the AFC Championship game, and this year they're 3-3. So like, and you can look in total, and he's 31-39-1. So he's 8 games under 500. But look what he inherited. So it took time to build it up. The difference is when you look at Dennis Allen, awful situation in Oakland. He inherited a great situation in New Orleans. He inherited a team that had gone to the playoffs in 2017, 18, 19, and 20. That had gone 4 of 5 years to the playoffs and missed the playoffs the prior year by 1 game. So he inherited a very stable, talented place. Like, he should have been able to build upon that. Instead, you regressed and went 7-10. And it looks like you're on that trajectory again. So the stability of the organization he inherited in New Orleans got him more wins than they had ever had with the Raiders, but still look at the issues you have, right? Corey Voulemont, good morning. Bubba Tatum, Ryan, Amanda Guidry, Jamie Leday, Jeff McKithen. Y'all do me a favor, 150 watching. Appreciate y'all. Please smash that like button on YouTube. Drew does not have school today, so Mimi's coming over here to watch him, and she'll be here in about 10 minutes. So I'm going a little bit longer today. That's good. No. Shane David said Detroit, defensive-minded coach. No. Dan Campbell was a tight end, man. Dan Campbell was a tight end in the NFL. So, he was, a tight ends coach and like an assistant head coach. He was never a coordinator, but he coached on the offensive side of the ball. So Dan Campbell's not a defensive-minded head coach. I think, Sean McDermott is the best example of a guy who was a defensive coordinator, became a head coach. Well, look, of the new era. Bill Belichick, defensive-minded head coach. Pete Carroll, defensive-minded head coach. So, like, there are some guys of a different era who are defensive-minded head coaches. Ron Rivera. But, of the new, there's maybe, sort of the new era of coaches. I'd say that. All right, y'all. I'm going to bounce. Douglas, any news on Emory Jones? No, but we should get that today. Brian Kelly press conference at noon, so we'll get an update for sure. Okay, y'all, I got to get going. Sorry if I missed you. Y'all have a great day. As always, shout out to Brock, Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. You need North Peace, go to Brock. They're the best. You need a roof, give a shout out to Hudco. Again, the pinned comment is the fortified roofing link on the Hudco website. If you're not familiar, State of Louisiana today, October the 16th, announced its second window of grants for fortified roofing. So Louisiana homeowners can get up to $10,000 in grant money for a fortified roof. So learn more. If you have questions or need help, we have people that are like, this is all they do at Hudco. So HudcoRoofing.com. Click that link. We'd love to help you out. Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Okay, y'all have an awesome day. Peace. I'm out of here.